Mountains are like gatekeepers that have held their secrets for centuries. But now that we have drone technology, we can uncover things no one has ever seen before. These drones are spotting chilling discoveries on mountains that will haunt you.
On the side of the mountain, and they're really picturesque, looking out over the valley.
These findings will make you realize that not everything on these mountains was meant for humans to see. Get ready, because the strange and weird things these drones captured will leave you amazed long after the video is over. Sarcophagi of Carajia. This drone was filming the Utcubamba Valley of Peru when it came across a terrifying scene. The drone spotted several human-like figures placed on ledges high up on cliffs. The footage shows the 6 figures looking out over the valley like silent observers, or perhaps guardians. But the question is, how did they get there? There are no paths, no ledges, and no caves that would allow anyone to reach them. Even the experts had to use modern mountain climbing tools to take a closer look, and what they found is terrifying. Turns out these figures are no statues, they are coffins. Inside are the mummies of important figures from an ancient civilization that used to call these mountains home. These people, named the Chachapoya, or the Cloud People, would bury their noblemen and officials in this manner. The bodies alongside some offerings were placed in the strange coffins. Then the coffins would be placed in extremely difficult-to-access spots on the cliffs. Once there, the coffins were positioned so their faces would look out over the valley. How they managed to climb up with these is a true mystery, especially once you realize that some of these coffins are nearly 8 feet tall. Not only that, but no one knows what became of the Cloud People. Their civilization simply disappeared. Some say they migrated, some go with more fringe theories. Whatever the case, these coffins are certainly a fascinating insight into their culture, much like this next burial practice from Turkey. Tomb of Amintus. If you fly a drone in the Fethai region, you may come across giant buildings carved into the cliffs. These are the tombs made by the Lycians, a civilization lost to time. While they look elaborate on the outside, the insides are much simpler. Small rooms carved inside hold the remains of the important officials and rich members of the Lycian society. Not much is known about how these tombs were built and who exactly is buried in them. But that's not even the strangest part. You see, several of the tombs are carved high up on the cliff, meaning there is no easy way to access them. Experts cannot figure out why that is the case. If these were treasured tombs, wouldn't the ancient Lycians want to be able to get close to pay their respects? A local legend provides some explanation. You see, the locals believe that these tombs served a unique purpose. They were built so high because a winged creature would come and carry the dead to the afterlife. According to them, the tombs were not built for humans, but for the winged creatures to easily collect the remains. Now, it wasn't just the Lycians who were fascinated with keeping their dead up high. This next culture also prefers a similar burial. The hanging coffins. In the mountains of China, drones often come across a sight that is as chilling as it is fascinating. Resting on the faces of several cliffs, you will find coffins dangling at great heights. These are not empty. Inside each one is a body, painstakingly brought up there and put to rest. This burial practice has somehow been developed, not by just one civilization, but rather by multiple groups around the world. In China, the most famous are the Bo people. While not much is known about them, what we do know is that they were all wiped out by the Ming dynasty. The hanging coffins are a grim reminder of their existence. Since the Bo people are now extinct, we have no idea why they used to bury their dead this way. The prevailing opinion is that they did so to prevent grave robbing, but nothing can be said for certain. And then there are the hanging coffins of the Philippines and Indonesia. Each site you come across is unique, yet morbid at the same time. The question is, was this simply to prevent grave robbing, or was there a religious aspect to this practice? No one knows, but this next find is an even bigger mystery. Aramumuru. In Peru, near Lake Titicaca, there is a rather strange wonder of ancient origins. A rock carved in the shape of a door, standing 23 feet tall, and on its front is a 6.5 feet tall niche. How it got here, who built it, and what purpose did this serve? No one knows. But that alone hasn't been satisfactory enough for the experts. After all, someone went through the effort to carve out this humongous monument, so they must have a reason. This need for an answer has given rise to a theory. Some say that an Incan priest received a golden disc that allegedly fell from the sky. He would use that disc on a depression in this door-like structure, and that would cause it to open. The locals call it the Gate of the Gods. But there is one problem with this theory. There is no mechanism in place that would allow this thing to open like a door. It is just a flat stone carved out of the cliff. So what is it? The most likely explanation is that this structure had some religious significance to its makers, or perhaps it is an unfinished project that was abandoned. Now what if I told you there is another similar structure found elsewhere? The Kapalakaya tomb. Çorum, Turkey, is also home to a strange door-like structure. Known as the Kapalakaya, this stone carving serves as a tomb. In the middle is a hollowed-out room. Inside this room, the ancient people who built this tomb placed the remains of an important person. Unfortunately, time has not been kind to this structure. The body and all the offerings inside that could have given us some insights have been looted at some point in history. It is also possible that this tomb was reused multiple times as civilizations rose and fell around it. All that makes it nearly impossible to determine the exact purpose and origins of this tomb. The leading theory is that the Kapalakaya was built all the way back in 2 BCE by the Greeks, but the Turkish people say it was the Romans who built it. We also know that it held so much value to its creators that they went to the effort of building a lengthy stairway up to it. The last clue we have is an inscription written on the outside, reading Ekesios. However, experts have been unable to determine what that means. Everything about this ancient carving is mysterious. But while this drone find created intrigue, this next one cleared up a huge mystery instead. Noah's Ark. We have all heard the story of Noah, but what became of the giant ship he built? According to this drone video, the Ark may be hiding in plain sight. Located in Turkey, the Durupinar site has a unique feature that has spawned an interesting theory. Many people believe it is the Ark of Noah, and the way it appeared is just as interesting. After 3 earthquakes and heavy rain caused the whole formation to emerge out of the ocean, as if by divine decree. Unfortunately, however, there hasn't been any physical evidence found that would link this site to Noah's ship. Experts used explosives and digging tools to search for wood or some other evidence that could prove the theory, but all they found was dirt and rocks. Still, that hasn't been enough to stop people from believing. The story doesn't stop here, though, because archaeologists have found standing stones nearby, which have been carved and could have been used to stabilize the Ark. And then there is the Kuti Dağ peak nearby, which may have links to the Al-Kuti mountain from the Islamic version of Noah's story, where the Ark came to rest. A rainbow mountain. This man flew his drone high over one of the most unique mountains in the world, and it is truly fascinating to watch. This mountain has not one but several different colors, as if a kid drew it with crayons. Only, this is all natural. Located in Peru, this mountain is called Vinicunca, and the reason behind its colorful appearance is its composition. This mountain is made of several colors of clay, iron, phylites, sandstones, and tons of other minerals, each giving it a different hue. Unfortunately, though, this mountain also contains lithium, which means tons of corporations are pushing hard to conduct mining operations here. That would ruin the unique look of this mountain. The government is working hard to prevent such a thing from happening. Still, who knows how long we will have this unique marvel of nature to witness before greed destroys it. But for now, this wonder is among us, just like this next one. Maigeshan Grottos. High up in the mountains of northwest China are the Maigeshan Grottos. Located on steep cliffs, these platforms have somehow been built at an extreme height. But why were these built at all? Apparently, these are just the walkways of the actual living spaces. There are 194 caves inside the cliffs, hand-dug to serve as rooms and worship places. And these are not homes of some ancient humans. Rather, these served as the Buddhist temples, with statues lining the cliffside and the inside of the caves. What's fascinating is the age of this grotto. This entire place was carved out and finished around 400 AD. It is insane to think that this place was built so long ago without any modern technology for help. Now here is the weird part. The experts have been unable to figure out where the sandstone used to carve the statues came from. It's not from the area according to the tests, and no one can figure out the actual origins. And then there is the biggest mystery. How are these statues hauled up here? Some of these statues are very large, so getting them up to such a great height would be nearly impossible with primitive technology. And the path leading to the caves isn't exactly built for hauling massive stone blocks. It is like pyramids all over again, only there isn't even a probable theory of how the feat was achieved. Now, while these grottos are a relatively unknown ancient marvel in the Western world, the next one is super popular and happens to have a secret barely anyone knows about. The American Secret. Drones flying near Mount Rushmore may catch a glimpse of a secret that very few people know about. Right behind Lincoln's hairline is a spot that is banned for the public to see. No one is allowed to access it, not because it has a secret government site inside. Rather, this is where the Hall of Records is located. This tunnel contains plaques telling the complete stories of the presidents whose faces are shown on the mountain alongside an overview of American history. The purpose behind this is just as interesting. This haul will serve as a record for future civilizations to find out the purpose of this monument. It is like an archaeological record to be used in case society collapses. That way, even if no one left knows what America is, why these people whose faces have been carved on the mountain are important, they can still appreciate and understand our history. Now, placing it on Lincoln's head is either a coincidence or a grim joke. Whatever the case, the public has been completely banned from accessing this place. And it makes sense. This cave is not for us, it is for the future. And that makes you wonder, is this the same case for this next drone find? Armenian Stonehenge. When this drone was flying over the Karahung archaeological site in Armenia, it captured something mesmerizing. What you are seeing is the Stonehenge of Armenia, and there is a good reason why it is called that. You see, this ancient structure is just as mysterious and way more impressive than the actual Stonehenge. With a total of 223 stones, the ancient humans created a mega-structure on this spot, and then for some reason, they went through the effort of boring holes through several of the stones. This site does not work as a shelter or a tomb. Add to that the strange stone circles dug around the site, and you have one of the most mysterious places on Earth. And here is the strangest part. Some of the stones used in the construction are nearly 10 tons heavy. With primitive technology, these would be impossible to move. Naturally, there are a lot of conspiracies and fringe theories about how these standing stones were erected. Even the experts are unsure. However, we may have a good idea why the ancient people built it. Some experts believe that this site served as an astronomical observatory. But the problem is, experts have been saying that about any standing stone site they cannot explain, so the truth may be something else entirely. Speaking of unexplainable, there is another enigma that can only be found in the mountains. Mount Nyangani. This is the highest mountain in Zimbabwe, and it also happens to be one of the most haunted places in the world. Named Mount Nyangani, this place is a complete horror show. So much so that the locals have come up with their own guidelines for traversing it if they are ever forced to. While standing on the mountain, the locals have a rule not to point at certain other hills nearby. If you see snakes or gold, you'd better stay away. And the most important rule of all, don't say anything bad. The legend is that if you break these rules, and the many others the elders dictate, you will disappear. And there is more to this than just a misguided belief. You see, there are tons of people who have gone missing on Mount Nyangani. The weirdest part is that anyone who goes missing, their bodies are never found. Search parties that go looking for them find no trace. Only a few people have ever been recovered, and even then, they were only found with the help of the local elders. And when they were questioned, they couldn't remember a thing about what had happened after they went missing. Some say these disappearances are because of ancient spirits. Others believe it is aliens. Yet no one can say a thing with certainty. White Mountain Petroglyphs. The peaks of the White Mountains in Wyoming hide a historic secret. If you fly a drone close to the cliffs, you will spot something interesting. There are handprints, hundreds of them carved into the rocks as if they were made of clay. And the surprising part is that these are thousands of years old. And not just that, there are also paintings displaying bison and elk hunts. Some even show tiny footprints and geometrical shapes. Now here is the fun part. These are not all from the same era. Some are 1,000 years old, while others are just 200. And the way these handprints were imprinted is also interesting. These rocks were soft at some point, and the visitors from the ancient world left their mark by simply pressing their hands. It is like a fun activity that humans have shared for hundreds of years, a reminder of their existence to the future in the form of handprints. It's a fascinating sight, but not as fascinating as what this next drone captured. Mount Nemrut. This drone footage from Turkey shows one of the most fascinating tombs from our ancient past that we have ever found. Near the very peak is a sanctuary with several really large statues around it. These heads are very large, easily towering above a grown man, and what they depict is just as interesting. Turns out these statues are a complete mix. They depict not just Persian deities, but also Greek. They show the cultural mix that happened between the two civilizations, forming the Commagene kingdom. There are the Persian eagle and lion. And there is also the Greek Zeus, Hera, Apollo, and other deities. But the site isn't just for statues, it is also a mausoleum. Antiochus I is buried here, who happened to be the most famous king of the Commagene kingdom. But now, for the weird part. If you look closely, you will see that most of these statues are damaged. Not only that, but they have been moved from their original place. Why? Well, the leading theory is that some other civilization or group tried to destroy them. For what reason? No one knows. No effort has been made to restore the statues or to put them back in their original spots. And it's for the better because, honestly, they look better this way. Fairy chimneys. What this drone captured in Cappadocia is perplexing. You see these strange chimneys? Well, these are not man-made. Rather, these formed completely naturally. They are what's called a fairy chimney, and their formation takes thousands upon thousands of years. A long time ago, a volcano burst in the area, causing ash to rain down on the land. The ash formed what experts call a basalt layering. As time went by, the stones began to erode. But the basalt on the top eroded at a slower rate than the rest of the pillar. The result is this weird phenomenon: a pillar with a basalt hat on top. The shape is quite questionable, but they are a wonder of nature regardless. And that doesn't mean humans haven't left their impression here. In the larger fairy chimneys, you can spot hollowed-out spots. These are actually rooms carved out in ancient times by humans to inhabit. To live in such a place must have been magical, no doubt. While we cannot be certain, the leading theory is that the Hittites built these and the underground cities in the area, which were later expanded when the Phrygians took over. If you think this place is magical, check out this next one. Fanjing Shan Temples. On the highest peak of the Wuling Mountains is something so spectacular you would think it is CGI. But this footage shows that this place is actually real. This is the Fanjing Shan Temple, which comprises two buildings built atop a giant rock pillar on the very peak of a mountain, and the two buildings are connected by a bridge, as if defying logic itself with the sheer absurdity of its existence. Now, keep in mind that this is not a modern architectural feat. Rather, this temple is very, very old. While we don't know for sure, the age of these temples is usually put at around 1,000 years ago. So how did they build it? Well, they first carved out stairs that scaled the entire cliffside to reach the top. And once that pathway was built, the material and labor could be brought to the top for construction. This temple holds a lot of significance for the Buddhist culture since it is one of the 5 most sacred temples in China. Even today, it is an important pilgrimage site for Buddhist monks and followers. A lava lake. Prepare for the most awesome drone footage ever recorded. This drone is flying over Mount Nyiragongo, which is home to the largest lava lake in the entire world. Open point 2 kilometers wide and 200 meters deep, this thing is absolutely massive. And the low viscosity of the lava here means that the magma flows at an extreme speed down the slope. Experts have recorded speeds of up to 60 miles per hour. A noxious aura of sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide surrounds the lake, making just standing near it deadly, which is why most people prefer to view it from a distance or using a drone. And not to mention that Mount Nyiragongo is amongst the most active volcanoes in the world, meaning if you visit, you may be in danger at a moment's notice. It is deadly and beautiful at the same time. A man trapped between 2 mountains. While flying a drone in the mountains, someone noticed something horrifying. There was a man who had gotten stuck halfway up the mountain. He was standing in a little nook between 2 cliffs, and it turned out he had been stuck there for 2 whole days. No food, no water, and no sleep. When people found him, a whole crowd gathered to try and help. But it became clear that conventional means were not going to be enough. It got to a point where the military had to be called in. They were able to reach the man and give him the help he needed. The poor soul was successfully pulled up the cliff, safe and sound. Bet that's an experience he will remember his whole life. Unfortunately, not everyone stuck on a mountain is as lucky as this guy. Take this next find, for example. Otzi the Iceman. Imagine you are hiking up a pretty well-known mountain when suddenly you come across a body. The cops are called, and forensic reports make it very clear someone took this man's life. Only letter evaluations tell something really strange. The body is over 5,000 years old. That's older than the pyramids and most civilizations we know of. An ancient case that will never be solved. The only clue, a stab wound and a wound from an arrow. While the case is certainly unsolvable, the experts found a treasure trove of information from the body. That's because it is one of the oldest yet most well-preserved specimens from the Copper Age. The body was quickly enveloped by ice after death and frozen solid alongside his belongings. It's so well preserved, in fact, that we know what his last meal was. For something so grim, this find is certainly interesting. Mount Elgon Caves. So this mountain cave I am about to show you has been explored not by humans, but by another intelligent being. No, it's not aliens, rather it is elephants. You see, this cave contains salt deposits inside, and the local elephant population visits the cave and goes in deep to get to the salt. They navigate in complete darkness, finding crevices where salt has accumulated. Nowhere else in the world can you find something so cute and fascinating. Pico de Orizaba. When you climb high mountains, you run the risk of coming across those who have tried doing the same before you, like this mummy that was found on Pico de Orizaba. Experts believe it belongs to a hiker who tried to scale the mountain about 50 to 60 years ago. But due to the environmental conditions up on these tall mountains, these bodies don't exactly decompose, so it isn't unusual for the climbers to come across them during a hike. And it's not like it's a one-time occurrence. Turns out, Pico de Orizaba has yielded 2 more mummies in the past, making this the 3rd one found to date. Who knows how many more lie buried deep underneath? And with that, we are done for this video. So which one of these mountain finds was your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to read them all. And while you are at it, be sure to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, goodbye and stay curious.